Look at this motherfucker. Look at him spraying. Look at that. Look at that.
Holy cow. That thing is completely stationary shooting.
This is crazy. God.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of the FINK Tank. I am your host, Vincent Fink. Today we are exploring the drones UAP over New Jersey, New York, and other states as well. I think these are starting to pop up all over. Of course, there's quite a hysteria about all this. Some of the sightings are definitely going to be just people mistaking drones for helicopters or airplanes, but there's certainly a real phenomenon going on here that people are witnessing and recording on their smart devices. It's pretty nuts, the stuff that we're seeing. Some of these clips here.
Holy cow. That thing is completely stationary shooting.
Look at this motherfucker. Look at him spraying. Look at that. Look at that. He is spraying the sky again. Bro, this is fucking crazy, man. Look at this guy. They're spraying the skies. Look, he just sprayed that. This guy. This guy just sprayed that.
It's what we've been expecting, right? If you've been paying attention to the UAP government kind of just cover-up of UFOs over the years, then you might have stumbled upon a guy named Dr. Steven Greer. But this guy has got decades, like 30 plus years of him focused on this, laser focused on this issue of UFOs, the government's involvement with them, and what has been going on. And everything he says checks out. There's tons of whistleblowers that he has constantly on his programs from some of these black projects, which is exactly what we're seeing here. This is very clearly, to me, this is our government black project, probably CIA. In fact, there's not really a doubt in my mind that it's them. But yeah, certainly a black project, something that most politicians and military personnel are just not read into. So that's why most people don't know about this. That's why, you have to be at these high levels to even know. And most of the people working on it are certainly compartmentalized. So they may not even know that they're working on such a thing. But it's certainly happening, and this is an agenda that's been around for a very long time. It's not a conspiracy theory. It is certainly a real thing, Project Bluebeam, as it's known. But there's so much evidence to back up that this really exists, that in one way or another, that basically there is a plot by our government to fake a UFO encounter and to pose them as hostile, and then use that as a way to usurp more of our freedoms, right? To actually consolidate the one world government under a blanket of fear created by a holographic hysteria, a false prophet, false god, false UFO. People are going to see some crazy shit in the sky, and it's gonna bring everybody to their knees. Everyone's going to want some help if they're fooled by this, of course. Now, you know better because you're watching this video. So now you will not be one of those people. I'm going to show you why you have no reason to fear other than fear itself. And we have a job to do, which is to clean shop and get rid of these freaking evil, pesky, awful buckets of garbage that are running these operations and trying to ruin the human potential. Because see, we are at a technological point where we could be rising to the stars already. Most of us are pretty well aware that we have the technology to go to other moons, planets, heavenly bodies, right? We could be exploring the cosmos, at least our solar system, and at this point. But all that is being stifled. Also, we have poverty, sickness, all kinds of things that certainly could be solved if the people running our countries, our governments, actually gave a shit about us. If they actually wanted to help the human race, well, don't you think you'd see some evidence of that? Instead, all you're seeing is more and more wars being started, and it's just, it's quite obvious your government wants you dead, okay? In case you didn't notice. But we're going to look at a few things here. Dr. Steven Greer, like I said, very interesting guy. If you haven't looked into his content, you've got to listen to a few of them. I mean, once you've listened to a 1 or 2 hour speech by him, you pretty much get the gist of what he's about and his sources that are super credible. And he's been briefing presidents and congressmen nonstop, again, for decades, as he continues to with the current incoming administration. So we're really hoping that the Trump admin will listen to this guy. You know, it's kind of scary, actually, now that I'm kind of looking back on all this, because this whole alien threat was basically, you know, Project Bluebeam. A major component of that is that they are pretending that aliens have come here and they want to attack us, right? And so we need to build space lasers and we need to build a space missile defense, right? Of course, that's all bollocks, because there's absolutely no way that an alien race could travel light years to us, or even if they were nearby, right? From a nearby planet or something. Hell, even if they're underground, would they come out and try to wage such a arcane war? No. An advanced species would have much better technology and be a lot more intelligent than that. They would certainly just, if they wanted to wipe us out, they would study us for a moment, grab some DNA, and then shoot back a retrovirus that is fitted specifically for our species, and we would be wiped out, and they'd come here to a nice, clean planet, ready to take over. So that's not what's happening, and that's not what's going to happen, though, I don't think. Not unless we let these crazy lunatics who are running our countries continue to run them and continue to run us into hell by pissing off any of these would-be aliens. They may just decide to eradicate us to get rid of the problem going on here. But it'd be much better if we could just make friends, right? Because I think if they've traveled all this way, they're probably thinking more along those lines. It would take that kind of thinking to actually make it, right? The quality of cooperation is one of the main components that has allowed humans to excel to the top of the food chain, right? Along with our intellect, which is, one could debate, is probably a result of cooperation. You know, if you have different people working on different things, you got a guard at night, you have time to think at night, right? So, just think about the future, Jack. Dr. Steven Greer there. Let's take a quick look here at just a recent post, that interview that he had done on a podcast just a couple days ago, right as this whole drone UAP thing was unfolding. And he said exactly what I thought he would, which is, again, in line with everything he's been saying for 30 years. So let's take a look here.
Well, some backstory on that. These all began some months ago after a team of high-level black site defectors decided that they would come forward between now and in early January with all the evidence and information from 6 different black sites that have been involved in shooting down the ET craft, the reverse engineering of them, the ET bodies, and the man-made, what they call ATs, which is advanced technology, which are the man-made UFOs, which are most of what people see. Now, of course, the covert transnational corrupt organization running covert UFO UAP programs knows this. And of course, they can monitor everything with or without an encrypted block. And they are now launching what we had predicted in the late 1990s, and that is a series of diversionary false flag events to confuse the public and the politicians and the Pentagon as to what these UAPs are. So the whole launch of the drones that you're seeing in the United Kingdom, those started after I got back to the United Kingdom, providing briefings to the senior leadership of that country about this emerging disclosure that will be the biggest event in modern human history, frankly. The people coming forward are not secondhand or even minor firsthand. These are operators assigned to special forces who have now risen up to a senior position at these key black sites, and they will be unmasked. They will be named. They will have the evidence. They will have the proof. And that's all happening in the next 30 days or so. I am telling you this because it is imminent. It's why I've been on a tour all over the world meeting with senior officials in the U.S. government, the incoming administration, the current leaders in the House and the Senate. In fact, I just got back from Washington last night. So that is what is happening. The drones are a predictable launch of a diversionary and a confusing event. They're certainly not extraterrestrial or NHI. The pop culture now is non-human intelligence term, NHI craft. It's clear that they're able to have assets that are ground-based or in STIFs, subterranean facilities, or what some people call DUMBs, deep underground military bases, where they can launch these sort of objects and create all kinds of confusion and alarm and panic. This is now breaking all into the mainstream news, just as this group is pivoting to disclose the facts and the real information. So this is a PSYOP, psychological warfare operation. We predicted it. We've been predicting it for 25 years. If you read my paper that I wrote in 1999, it's on our website, drstevengreer.com, and it states very pointedly that the actors who are keeping this secret will take the momentum of disclosure and try to turn it into an alien invasion scenario, a good versus bad alien scenario, a way to keep war running all over the world, and also aggrandize the military industrial complex with trillions of dollars.
Look how many wars they've started in the last 4 years.
Create a countermeasure to the alien threat.
No war started in the previous 4 years.
We know this was the plan that was hatched in 1953 or so at the CIA. We have documents to that effect, and that it would only take place because there had been a long-term, multi-decade psychological warfare operation that began in the late in the 50s in earnest with the man-made UFOs, and then later where they were using altered humans, and then in the later robotic aliens to abduct humans and to instigate terrorizing events like mutilations. And on occasion where they placed these man-made UFOs over a developing world villages and blown up the whole village and killed dozens of people. Now, we have people on the inside who know all this. And so now the incoming president doesn't know this, the Congress doesn't know this, and 99.9% of the Pentagon don't know it, but this is what's going to be coming out in part. And the very granular details of what this defection group is going to put out there, we don't know, but it will absolutely be dispositive proof, but also the fact that they've agreed to unmask themselves, meaning they'll be named, is new. I just learned that a couple weeks ago when the leader of that group met with me at my place in Washington, D.C. So we'll see what happens if they don't get scrubbed. I mean, if they're not assassinated between now and then, this is what's coming out, and I'm making an attempt. I sort of joke I've become the cosmic.
So he's saying that some really high-level people with some very damning proof will be coming out very soon right now, and it's January.
Crazy what's going on in the major media on how they're putting it out there. We don't know what these things are, but don't worry about it. They don't mean us any harm. And some of
what nonsense. We know what they are, and we know why they're there. Now, the press conference at the Pentagon today, there was a young woman who was saying, well, blah, blah.
So, yeah. And he goes on to, it's a very interesting interview. It's about an hour and a half long. So check that out if you want to know more about his take and the evidence that he's compiled for most of his life, it seems. So yeah, Project Bluebeam, this is finally starting to get more momentum. More people are starting to finally talk about this and know about it, which is a good thing. Here's actually another very interesting little short that I found with Greer talking about this as well and the origins of it, which goes back to Wernher von Braun, our Nazi scientist asset that we brought over after World War II. He was actually their top scientist, the one who was basically leading the Soviets into space, kicking our ass. Well, once we got him over, we started kicking some major ass. He helped us get to the moon. When asked, I think by Kennedy, if not one of his officials, what will it take to go to the moon? Wernher von Braun replied, the will. And once the will was there, we made the way. And that is how it is with all of these things, with solving world hunger and the climate and the environment, the space race, right? Going to the moon and mining the moon and asteroids and becoming a level 1 species at some point. Actually, I don't even think we're level 0 yet. Let's become a level 0. Let's get out of the negatives and at least jump to level 0 or level 1. Okay. And right now, the only person making that happen is Elon Musk, by the way. NASA wasn't doing shit. NASA wasn't talking about going back to the moon or going to Mars at all, really. It was all going to be just sending robots for God knows how long. Actually, Obama's administration was the first to even declare that we weren't even going to take our own astronauts to space, and we had to start piggybacking off of the Russians to get our astronauts to the space station. Yes, I know all these things. These are facts that I keep in my head because I've been studying space and all this stuff my whole life. It's a great interest of mine. So it was major blow to me when that happened during the Obama admin. And it was a huge joy to me when President Trump was the first president since Kennedy to announce, hey, we're going to the moon. We're going back to the moon, right? So, yeah. And Musk is making that happen. He's going to take us to Mars. We're going to become a multiplanetary species because of these men, not because of Bill Gates, not because of any of your favorite guys who tell you how evil these other guys are. No, these are the guys actually getting shit done. These are the men in the arena. So you can, talk all the shit you want about Elon Musk or Trump. They're getting shit done. They're making team humanity is moving forward because of them. And people are going to look back when we became a spacefaring civilization, and they're going to look at the people who made it happen, and they're going to be remembered for that. And the naysayers will not be remembered, other than maybe a footnote of like, look at how pathetic these humans were who actually tried to stop this one group of humans, this tiny little group of humans that was trying to propel us forward. Don't be that group that was trying to stop progress. Project Bluebeam. Check out this clip from Dr. Steven Greer as well. This is a very lovely little 1-minute clip that just kind of encapsulates what needs to be known.
Wernher von Braun, in his deathbed in 1974, told a member of my team, Carol Rosen, that their plan is to create, eventually, an hoax, a threat from outer space, to try to unite the world, like Independence Day, the movie, in a sort of a military global junta of humans against aliens. It's all nonsense. It's BS. But it sells well. It sells movies, it sells tickets, it sells books.
This is the Bluebeam, Project Bluebeam?
Yeah, that related to that. And I've met with many men who've been on operationally, like literally have been operational on those programs. It went from really clunky stuff, like the Betty and Barney Hill abduction. People think that was alien. It wasn't. It was us. Late 50s, early 60s. And I think President Obama's actually working on a documentary about that. And it was an interracial couple, a very interesting story.
There was also a really cool, The Y-Files, a pretty cool little conspiracy show. He usually kind of takes the more like mainstream view on a lot of things, but and he doesn't really completely come out and ever really say that a conspiracy theory is real. Yet his whole show goes into great detail on conspiracy theories. So I think maybe he's just trying to protect himself. I don't know. But he has a great one on Project Bluebeam. It's called Project Bluebeam, staging a fake alien attack to take over the world. And there's a lot of really great nuggets in there. And he really kind of goes through the whole thing and explains how this is all part of the one world government and how they're going to wind up, they're going to use these holograms or whatever, these visuals to scare the shit out of everybody and then force you into submission through complete fear and panic. Probably cut off some resources as well. That's been predicted by other conspiracy theorists. Hope you're ready. And they're going to come through. They're going to make your life hell. They're going to make you beg, and they're going to make you want them to do something, and it'll be at the cost of everything. And by the end of it, you will be a non-thinking zombie-like human eating bugs in a pod, watching holograms, and whatever use they can squeeze out of you, that will be your life till you are no longer useful, and then you will be disposed of. So if that's not the world you want, let's all get on Team Humanity. Let's join together, right? And if aliens are out there and they're coming, let's not show them what a fucking mess we are. All right. Can we show them that we are not just a bunch of fucking apes with guns, that we can actually, talk about space and not kill each other and not assume the worst qualities about our own species exist in somebody traveling light years or reaching out through some other means that we have no idea of. I think we can do it, but the only way we can do it is if people like you and me talk about this and get everyone else on board and to realize, like, hey, that shit out there that you're seeing, that's our government. They're trying to scare us. All right, they've done this before, and you gotta think: is the timing a little opportune? Is it a little peculiar or maybe convenient that right as the guy they did absolutely everything they could do to stop from getting back into office, and now he's coming back in, and now you want to stage a false alien attack or a false Iranian drone attack? I mean, come on, guys, really? I mean, the fact that our government is showing like little concern and giving all these BS answers should tell you something. They are not concerned. They why would they be? They know it's their own stuff, and they can't really do. The people who are not read in really can't do anything about it. They're in the dark. They're being fed false information by these CIAs who are talking to them, whoever their connections are, right? Whoever these people actually answer to. Do they even answer to anybody? I mean, how many times have we seen? We have documents of the CIA doing complete fuckery behind all kinds of false flags. And yet nothing ever seems to ever happen. Nobody's ever held accountable. Remember the JFK files? Trump was going to release all of them, but then he had to keep a few pages redacted for people who were still alive, basically, is what he said. Yeah. Connect the dots, right? A lot of people think that it had something to do with George Bush Sr. being there, a part of the CIA. And was he still alive? I guess he was. Anyways, so we're at a crossroads here, and it could go either way, really. So it is a little scary, right? When you put all this into perspective and you look at the larger agenda of what Project Bluebeam is all about and what they're trying to do to set up a missile base, in the sky, in space, actually. And then, I have to say, Trump and me and Neil deGrasse Tyson and many others were kind of perhaps fooled into this a little bit. But, we started Space Force, and, people mocked Trump about that. But I remember even seeing, every time Trump gets mocked by people about something, I always see some real expert in the field come out and have begrudgingly defend him. And that was the same thing with Space Force. everyone was making fun of how silly it sounded or was or whatever, which it wasn't. And Tyson had to point that out to the scientific community of idiots, that, hey, actually a Space Force is a pretty good idea. I mean, we have opponents who are working in space. Do you want China to be the only one who has missiles in space or whatever? Like we need to have capabilities too, and not necessarily even for war, but what happens if there is a large asteroid that perhaps if we have the right mechanisms in place, we can shoot that thing and disperse it and get it out of our atmosphere before it comes down and rains hell on us, right? So, I mean, it certainly seems smart if you're a thinking man, like, hey, we should probably have some defenses up there against our opponents and, against the elements. That makes sense to me. So I get the point for having Space Force. In fact, I want to join. It's near impossible for me at this point. I've seriously looked into it, but yeah, I just hope it doesn't get abused in the way that it obviously could be abused with this situation here. When we're talking about space-based missiles and space wars, whatever, and all the shit they wanted to do with this Project Bluebeam, and how Wernher von Braun himself said so vehemently that he thought the idea of putting weapons in space was like an awful idea. It was not economical. It would benefit nobody. He thought it was bad all around. So I don't know what he would say to those arguments that I just made. But I think they're fairly sound arguments. We can't, it's like if we stopped developing our military, like it seemed like we kind of did, what does that do for us in the world stage when there's people like in Iran, other Middle Eastern countries, China, Russia, right? We have a lot of competitors, right, who are competing for that spot of dominance. And many of them I don't think would treat us very well if they reached that hierarchy. So it's kind of in our best interest. I mean, if you like the kind of lifestyle, the Western lifestyle, especially if you like the technologies that we enjoy and the freedoms we enjoy, then it's not going to be a good choice to kind of just let yourself fall out of supremacy in military might. So, man, I mean, we're kind of in a conundrum. I think it's one of those points where it's like you have to, I mean, Star Trek, all of those starships had defenses. Gene Roddenberry saw that, and he was trying to paint quite a utopia, if you think about it. The idea that we would actually be able to travel the cosmos in these starships, and that we'd solved all our problems on Earth, and that we'd gotten beyond that at least, right? Even in that utopic scenario, we still need power. We still need guns. We still need to be able to defend ourselves because there are aggressors in space, right? That's at least what the show showed. The series showed us. And that's probably a very human way to look at things. But we've not been out there. We don't know what's out there yet. And it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that at some point we will need to defend ourselves. And hopefully at that point we are at a level of technology that is comparable to one of these adversaries. And we would never get there if we don't work for it and develop it. It's all about who's in charge, and that's something that everyone needs to really figure out in their head, is like, there's, and like he says in this, the Y Files, he says something towards the end of his video about Project Bluebeam that I'm constantly saying to people and constantly trying to remind myself too, because it's very easy to get wrapped up into this left versus right politics. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, the thing that I try to explain to people is that there's evil people no matter what. And there's going to be people who are going to game the system no matter what. So be it communism or capitalism or whatever, there's corruption. The reason why I tend to veer away from government controlled everything is because the less control they can have, the better for me, I feel like, and for us, our chances are better. At least you have a chance with freedom, right? You could still fail. You could still have a miserable life with bad choices or just bad luck, but you at least have a chance. When the government controls everything, yeah, you don't have the chance. You're just a cog in a system, and there's not a lot of room for creativity and things like that. So let's just try to get it all together. Let's try to get it figured out, and let's stop fucking around, man. Let's stop letting these jackasses put these fucking stupid displays before us and feed us these ridiculous narratives, like I'm sorry, but I knew since day one COVID came from a fucking lab, all right? And that was laughed and mocked, and some people are still laughing and mocking right now, yet all the evidence points to it, and I guarantee you it's going to come out someday. Most people have come to the realization it's ridiculous to think otherwise. There's literally a coronavirus virology lab down the street from where it broke out. Are you fucking stupid? All right. So same with this shit. It's like a bunch of drones pop out everywhere. Our government can surveil and find an old granny who walked through the velvet ropes on January 6th, 2021. And they found her through phone records, and they can find the January 6th insurrectionists so easily, but we can't figure out who's setting these drones off, where they're coming from. We can't trace them or track them. Give me a break. All right. It's insulting. It's gotten fucking insulting at this point to listen to the garbage that our officials are feeding back to us. And if they really believe this shit, then, it's why we need a clean house, right? So all that said, we are cleaning house. We have a new administration coming in with many people from the left who've left the left for populism, for just being American, right? Because again, this two-party system, founding fathers, many were against, including our first and one of our greatest presidents. And so you can't get divided by this shit. That's the divide and conquer tactic, and everyone's falling for it, just about, except for not. A lot of us are awakening, and a lot of us are coming together, and we're not being so afraid anymore. Okay. We're breaking the taboo, and it's great, because the truth, it barely puts its pants on by the time a lie has gone 3 times around the world, but it eventually gets its pants on. And when it does, everything comes out. So just wait. I'll tell you what, from here, with all this shit going on, even in my life, very chaotic, I have to say, the future looks bright, because we still have a chance. Every day we wake up, we still have that chance, and we seem to be moving towards a great awakening, and a unification of people from different parties, and I love that. That's what America's about. So let's keep that going, and looking forward to 2025 with you. All right. If you want to continue the artistic journey with me, then please make sure you subscribe, and check it out, man. I got some videos. I'm going to try and put out a little bit more art content soon, but it's kind of hard lately. I've got a lot going on, and it's a lot easier to just work on art than try to film it all or whatever. And so this is a little bit easier, actually, to just kind of sit down and rap with you. So we'll do this some more, hopefully, but definitely some new artworks coming out, and I hope you check it out and stay tuned for more. All right. Peace out, y'all.